Hi, this is Drew with Finale. In the last video, we went to the Finale 3D website to download and install the latest version of Finale 3D. Then we went through the process of importing a Noah's Ark HBS file into my effects. Finally, we made a custom layout for the effects window to make it easier to complete the task of updating and tuning effects. In this video, we'll take a detailed look at using VDL and some other great features to update and tune various types of effects from our Noah's Ark. Let's get started. Since I've relaunched Finale since making the last video, the first thing I need to do is open the show we saved. The reason we need that show is because it contains the template for our layout for the effects window. To open the show, we'll just go to File, Open, and then select the show. You'll notice that it has a .fin file extension. This is the file extension for a show file in Finale 3D. Similarly, an HBS file was the file extension for a show file in Finale Business. Click Open to open the show. Now see that the show is open. It's listed in the title bar in the design window. Now, nothing changed over here in the effects window, but that's because I haven't selected the layout. To view the Noah's Ark items, I'll use the blue drop-down list to switch to My Effects. To restore the table layout, I'll go to the blue gear icon, select Table Layout, and choose Editing from the list. Now the table layout is restored to exactly the way it was when the template was saved. Now we're all set to start editing some effects. To preview an effect, mouse over the small white bar at the top of the effect icon. You can expand the preview by clicking in the upper left-hand corner of the small preview window. The simulation looks great, but I notice in the VDL the size is incorrect. To edit the simulation, I'll right-click and do Edit this effect simulation or Rack VDL. In the VDL editor, I see the size is listed twice. Once as 4" and once as 5". I'll remove 5" because it's not correct. I also notice the pre-fire time is 3.2 seconds. I want to use the default pre-fire time provided by Finale, so I'll remove the pre-fire, and the pre-fire will now be adjusted to 3.3. Let's take a look at another effect. Here's a blue peony with a silver palm pistol. I notice in the preview that the silver palm pistol is a little bit too dense. To edit the effect, I'll right-click and again do Edit this effect simulation or Rack VDL. The first thing I notice is the size being duplicated and the custom pre-fire. I'll remove the duplication and delete the custom pre-fire. Next, I'll use a VDL adjustment term to reduce the number of stars in the silver palm pistol. Here I'll add the word sparse. For a complete list of VDL terms and their function, visit the VDL Effect Adjustment Terms article in the online VDL documentation. Let's preview the effect and see how it looks. Now I can see that the effect looks much better and the number of stars in the silver palm pistol has been reduced. Let's take a look at another effect. Here we have an 8" blue to green flashing big willow. The willow looks good, the blue looks good as well, but when I watch the green flashing, I notice that the duration is quite long. In the lower right hand corner you can see that the effect lasts 18 seconds. So let's edit the effect to adjust the VDL. In the VDL editor, I see the size is duplicated and it has a custom pre-fire time. I'm going to remove these for this example. I also see the word oversize, which is not a VDL adjustment term. You can tell because in the VDL output, the word oversize is not listed. I'll remove this word and add the word big, which you can see is now listed in the outputs for the VDL. To adjust the green flashing, I'll add the word short in front of the words flashing in green. Let's preview the item again. In the preview, we can immediately see that the burst is much larger. This is a result of the word big. Looking at the green strobe, the word short has reduced the duration down to 13 seconds from the previous duration of 18. Now that we've done a few shells, let's try a cake. Here's a basic cake called Tumbleweed. This is a brocade cake with colorful pistils. The simulation actually looks pretty good, but I notice a couple things. First, the brocade stars are a little bit too thick, and the brightness isn't as much as the cake in real life. I could edit with the VDL editor, but this is an opportunity to show another great feature for editing cakes. Click on the row number to highlight the whole row, and then select Effects, Break Apart Cake, and then From Item in Effects window. This will create a new show with the individual shots from this cake spread out on the timeline. I'm not using the effects palette, so I'll hide it for this example. With the cake broken apart, I can now interact with the timeline and make any adjustments needed to each individual shot. After bringing all the shots into view, the first thing I'll do is grab the playhead and scrub through the timeline to see how everything looks. Watching the simulation, I see a few things that I'd like to change. To edit the individual items, I'll first use the blue drop-down list to switch to Per Show Effects. Per Show Effects shows me any items that are in this particular show. Here I can see that the cake is made up of 3 distinct effects. The first thing I notice is the size is 3-inch. This is another thing I'll want to change. The editing process is the same as before. Right-click and choose Edit this effect. First, I'll reduce the size of the effect by changing it to 2-inch. Next, I'll add the VDL adjustment terms Vary and Bright to increase the brightness of the gold brocade. I'll also add the word Thin to reduce the thickness of the star trails. Next, let's preview the effect. Here I can see that the size is much more realistic, the gold is brighter, and the trails of sparks are a little bit thinner. To update the other effects, we'll just repeat this process. Adjusting the size from 3-inch and adding the words Very Bright and Thin before gold brocade. Do the same thing for the third item, 3-inch to 2-inch, Very Bright Thin before gold brocade. With all the effect edits complete, I'll scrub through the timeline one last time to view the final cake. I'm not going to make any adjustments to the cake timing because the timing and firing pattern look very good. The next step is to recreate the cake. I'll select the items on the timeline that are part of the cake and then do Effects, Create Cake Effect by combining selected items. This is a really awesome feature because it will automatically generate the VDL for the cake. When I click Enter, a new cake will be created, but what I'm really after is the VDL to update the original cake in my effects. To do this, I use the Control-C keyboard shortcut to copy the VDL. Now you can see that the new cake has been added to Per Show Effects. What I'm going to do next is use the Window menu to switch back to the Noah's Ark import show. Then I'll go to the blue drop-down list and choose My Effects. Now I'll just locate the original cake and right-click to edit the simulation. Start by deleting the VDL from the input description and then using the Control-V keyboard shortcut to paste in the new VDL. Now I can see that the size and other specs for the cake have been updated. Let's go ahead and preview. This looks great. The size is more appropriate, the gold is brighter, and the spark trails are a bit thinner. Let's work on another cake. Here I have a sliced cake with blue comets and blue mines. You can see in the simulation that the comets and mines go to approximately the same height, which is not very realistic. As usual, we'll edit by right-clicking and doing Edit this effect simulation. The first thing that I notice is the word degrees preceded by 100. This is the total angle for the cake. Looks pretty good, so I won't change it. Next I see the words blue mine. I want to adjust the height of the mine, so I'll add 15 HTM to set the mine height to 15 meters. I'll add 45 HTM to set the common height to 45 meters. Underneath you'll see the changes reflected in the output VDL. After saving the cake, I'll go back to the preview. Now when we look at the simulation, we see the comets are much higher and the mines are below. Cake looks much better, but I'd like to increase the duration of the comets. I'll go back to the VDL editor, locate the definition for the comets, and then I'll add 2.5 to represent seconds, and then DUR as in duration. Now I can see the changes reflected in the output below. I'll save and go back to the preview one more time. Here I can see the duration of the comets is much longer, further adding to the realism of the effect. Next, let's take a look at a couple single shot or one shot items, but first I want to talk a little bit about the field called Type. The Type field or Type column is currently shown on the far right hand side of the effects window. Type is extremely important because it is relied upon by other features in Finale 3D. It's extremely important that the correct type is specified for each effect. Types are predefined values and cannot be user specified. For more detailed information and a complete list of the predefined types, visit the Why is Type So Important article in the Finale 3D documentation online. Coming back to Finale 3D, I notice a 50mm white mine which is a single shot but has the type of mine. It may be somewhat counterintuitive, but this is actually the wrong type because this is a single shot item. I'll fix this by right-clicking and doing Edit the Simulation. Then I'll just add the words single shot to the input description to update the VDL output below. Now we can see that the type has been updated in the type field. Here's another item with the same problem. In this case, a single shot comet with the type of comet. I'll right-click, Edit, and again add the word single shot to change the type. Once saved, we can see the effect has been updated to the correct type. In this video, we fixed up and tuned simulations for a variety of items in our Noah's Ark. We used VDL adjustment terms as well as features including break apart and combine as cake. I hope you found the video useful. Stay tuned for many more great videos to come.